Welcome to episode 15 of the Bamcast.
Why is my
What's up, Addie?
Hey.
Hey. We feel like we start every episode that we've had together like this, but we had another post go absolutely bonkers on social media. I just pulled it up so I could reference the actual numbers. 150,000 views, 157,000 views, 2,600 likes, 291 comments, almost all of those negative, and 232 shares. And it's just recently popped off. You said that there was some other post that you had that went viral that like fed into this, or what happened? Why did it just reinvigorate it? Because it was at like 70K until Monday.
I posted my transformation from like 3 or 4 years ago to now. Yeah, so I had a post actually go somewhat viral, and it has like almost 5 million views and a
Somewhat viral.
lot a lot of hate comments, a lot of negativity under that post, which obviously always just feeds negativity into my other posts as well, which that happens to be our most recent podcast episode. So of course everyone's funneling into that one and leaving their opinion there too. So
Yeah, which everybody's like, God, this guy's just trying to fish for podcast views. And I'm like, no, I'm not trying to fit. I'm just trying to say, if you would just listen to something that's longer than 60 seconds or longer than 90 seconds, like maybe you would feel a little bit more of an understanding of what we're actually trying to say. But I don't know. It has been, we've gone back and forth on it, on whether we keep addressing it or whether we, people are like, show the test. And it's like the last time that was claimed, like people were asking for that and it was shown, this could be doctored. We don't even know if that's a real doctor. There's no
yeah.
winning with people. Something that we did find out, or one thing that I do want to address, is the reason that in the actual like sizzle reel, the like abbreviation basically for what we've got, it was bleeped out, was because we found out like right as I was about to post that, and after the podcast was edited, after the podcast was live already, we found out that it was actually a different form of lipodystrophy, which is basically FPLD, which is
It's in the
familial.
comments of the last video.
Yeah, familial partial lipodystrophy. And so we found that out from the family member that organized the whole like thing and everything. So I was like, I don't want to put a wrong form out there and then people go look that up and be like, well, that's not what you actually, or I don't even know. So I bleeped it out and people were like, well, they're just trying to gatekeep and keep information away. And it was just a whole thing. We did find another athlete though, which I thought was really interesting. I'd love to reach out to her and have her on at some point, but we found another athlete that has the same exact condition, same variety, as from what I understand. She was an Olympic sprinter. Her name is Priscilla Lopez Schlepp. But she had the same thing that you've always had. She has had a lot of like people, even at the Olympic level, accusing her of accusing her of being on PEDs and stuff like that. And she overcame it. She did test after test after test, and people just couldn't believe it, kind of like you. So I think it'd be cool to kind of talk to her at some point, but maybe on down the line. She doesn't have much of a social presence, maybe because of this reason.
Don't blame her.
Yeah, me neither. But I know we wanted to kind of talk about some other things. Did you have anything you wanted to say on any of that?
Not necessarily. I mean, people keep saying prove it, and if you want me to prove it, pay for the test. I'm not going to go out of my way to like pay for it if like there is no reason and people aren't going to believe it regardless. We've been over 1,000 times. If you want to watch the full podcast, like, I mean, it is what it is. And oh, well, to the negativity.
Yeah. This is my first, I would say it's probably my first post that where I've gotten like control of like the comments and stuff and gotten notified every time. Like every day that I wake up, there's like 30 or 40 new negative, hateful comments on that post, right? And like every time I open Instagram, I've got like 10 new comments and like 30 new likes. And if I go and look at all the comments, which typically it's like a friend commenting on a picture or a video or something, like if I go look at these comments, they're all, so I'm actually losing a bunch of other comments that would be productive that I could like go and reach out to or talk to or actually want to read, because they're just getting buried. So I can't even imagine how like you, Jermaine, so many people, even with bigger platforms than you guys, that I don't know how you guys do it, because it is.
Yeah.
I had to mute my notifications because it was driving me nuts.
Yeah, I tend to not even look at it anymore because I think the amount of times I've gotten upset over something like someone said on social media is
Yeah.
insane. So all my notifications are off. I like try not to read the comments because when I do, it always hurts my feelings.
Hmm.
So I'm just gonna leave it alone. I
Yeah.
mean, can't control people, can't make them be nice.
No, you can't.
Everyone feels like they're entitled to their opinions. So
They do. They do.
yeah,
And that's one thing that, again, everyone can have their own opinion. So
yeah,
I don't understand the need to go and share it. Like, it's like there's a disconnect between this person on the other side of this post being a human being, is
right.
what it feels like. That's something that keeps getting like drilled home for me, is like they don't understand that they're talking about a real person.
Yeah, like
And
I'm not
they're
just a person on a screen. Like I'm a
yeah.
human. I have emotions and feelings and I have a brain that sees
And
all of this. I
yeah, and it's like when people perceive, whenever a post or a person or something like gets to a certain point, it's like they stop looking at it as human, as more
Mhm.
of like a topic that they can just talk about.
Yeah.
um and they don't like, they're on my page, right? Like they're on your page, they're on our post,
Mhm.
and talking like that about, like, we get the notifications, we see all of
Yeah.
it, you know.
Yeah.
So that part's great. My block list has definitely like quadrupled in size, I would say, like over the past
Yeah.
7 days or so. So anyways, moving on from that, I think today's episode we can kind of, what you and I have talked about, we want to kind of like ask each other some questions back and forth, get some different perspectives, talk about some things that people even asked us that we wanted to talk about on the actual podcast itself, and go from there. But my first question that I think we talk about a lot, or we get a lot of people that come to us looking for bodybuilding help, especially younger girls. Um, what are the best traits someone can possess or develop to help with a career in bodybuilding, do you think?
I think you have to obviously master the art of discipline. Like you have to be able to discipline yourself. Because I think the easiest thing to do is you think, okay, I'm gonna get a coach. I don't know why my camera just did that. Sorry. Okay, I'm gonna get a coach and they're gonna like do all this stuff for me and I'll have success and I'll look great. But at the end of the day, like a coach will give you a plan, but the only one that can execute that and actually get the results is gonna be you. So I think that if you don't have discipline, like you're not going to survive in bodybuilding. But if you have discipline, then you will have no issue having success when it comes to bulking, prepping, staying on plan, all that good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, and I would say you've truly have to be able to thrive on the monotony of it.
Hmm.
Like you have to be somebody that you're kind of a glutton for pain, right? Like you enjoy putting yourself through an above average amount of pain. You've got a higher than average pain threshold. But you also have to be able to thrive on doing the same things day in and day out. Like I know people like Kinsey, for instance. I think she could make it in bodybuilding, and I think she would do an amazing job. I'm giving an example because she, like, with her food and eating, if she eats the same thing for like a week straight, she's sick of it. It like repulses her and she doesn't want to, like, I think that's an important trait, is like you have to be able to not attach a you have to be able to like look at things and just be like, okay, this is what I do. This is what I have to do every
Yeah.
single day.
Like
Now,
just
could she work
detach
around
your
that? Could
emotions.
anybody work around that? Like, yes, absolutely. And I think she will. I think she'll step on stage and compete and all that stuff. But it's that example comes to mind because it's like a lot of the bodybuilding stuff is, can you eat the same thing day in and day out because you know it's a part of your meal plan for 12 weeks straight,
Mhm.
right? Like there's going to be changes here and there, and refeed days and stuff like that. But can you do that? Are you willing to do that? Because if you can't do that and do your cardio and do your all your nutrition and your workouts and everything day in and day out every day, and you get bored with it, there's no switching it up. Like, you to step on stage, you got to do a certain amount of that.
Mhm.
I cut you off a second ago. What were you saying?
No, you're good. I was just saying you have to like kind of also master detachment. Like
Hmm.
you have to kind of remove your emotions. You have to remove the emotions you feel like towards food, towards the scale. Like you have to. if you have emotions towards any of that, like you're probably not going to thrive in bodybuilding, just because, like you said, like it is, a lot of people love snacks, a lot of people give in to social pressures, but I mean, if you're able to kind of remove yourself and be like, no, it's fine, like I'm staying on plan, or sticking with your meals, or like maybe the scale doesn't change, removing your emotions from that is going to help you like push further along in a prep, which I feel like is the most difficult aspect of bodybuilding typically.
Yeah. And for a lot of people, I saw somebody talking about this today, like a post about this today. For a lot of people, there is a they see it glorified on social media, and they see maybe their favorite influencers doing bodybuilding or doing some shows and stuff, and they're like, this
Mhm.
is what you do, like this is what's like, yeah, that looks awesome, right? Like getting cheered
Yeah.
for and getting a medal and things like that. But to truly get into that type of a lifestyle, which is why I haven't stuck into that lifestyle personally, is because like you have to be in love with that process. Like you have to be somebody that is obsessed with staying down in the deep depths of your mind and soul, and putting yourself through it. Because if you're
Mhm.
gonna go and compete, like I saw Jermaine post the other day about how he just loves, like even if there was no cameras, no social media, no nothing, like he would just live that lifestyle. And that's probably true for him from the little bit that I know about him.
Yeah.
I personally don't like to live in that state. I know that I'm not my best self whenever I'm in that state. I know that like even 75 hard, it's tough for me being on day 46 right now to not let my temper get a little bit hot sometimes, to always be patient with people, to not be somebody that's like, you're really gonna make an excuse when I'm putting myself through all this shit that I'm doing voluntarily on a daily basis, and you can't get to the gym. You know what I mean? Like it's tough for me, and I
Mhm.
enjoy challenging myself in a lot of different ways. But um, I know for me, I might compete again later on, but that's not something that I want to build a career in, because I don't love that challenge or staying in that challenge all the time. I don't know if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely does. I do think that there are people like Jermaine who are just like a different beast, like
Yeah.
love every single bit of the journey. And can just, I mean, he's in the zone right now, like cutting, shredded, like all that. Um, and then there's people who just like thrive on the structure, and like that's what keeps them in with bodybuilding. And I,
Yeah.
I think I'm that. Like I like to prep, like I love the structure that you have in prep. And off season you kind of feel like like happier, a little bit more freedom, and obviously you still have somewhat of a structure because you are like trying to eat so much, but in prep like everything is like planned out for you on a day-to-day basis. So I feel like that's where I thrive. And then like him, like there's people that just are extremely passionate, just love every single aspect, love the
Yeah.
process. So I think there's different types of people that thrive in bodybuilding for sure. But yeah, you definitely have to master the art of like detachment and discipline to actually have success with bulking, cutting, all that good stuff.
Yeah. There's something to be said for the structure piece, because that is one piece that I've always liked about cutting, or that I really loved about prep, and that's something that um I enjoy about 75 hard, is forcing you into a regimented structure. And even just
Hmm.
like left to my own devices, like even if I wasn't when I'm not on 75 hard, when I'm just like generally like working out normally and taking a few rest days a week, I still eat the same things. Like I still I still cook the same amount of meals. I might not eat as much always, right? But I still eat all the same things because I genuinely enjoy eating what I eat, and I know from doing all this so many times before, that I know that if I eat a certain way, I'm gonna feel and look a certain way. And so
Hmm.
like to me, that's enough to just continue to eat that way. And it's like if I can like it at the same time, then that's another bonus.
Yeah.
But there is something that the structure, I think, is something that also, that you're completely right. That's something that people will keep somebody in bodybuilding, because they just really enjoy structure and security and
Hmm.
knowing what tomorrow looks like at all times.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
definitely.
I think that's a great point. Um, what advice would you tell yourself 6 years ago when you were just starting out in social media, bodybuilding, all of that, if you could do so? Like talking to younger Addie.
I don't know. That's a great question. I don't know. I mean, I've been okay, wait. You said I started 6 years ago. I just want to preface because everyone's like, there's no way you had that transformation in 6 years. Okay. Been an athlete my entire life. Like, since we were little, playing like T ball and softball and little track meets and whatever. Been an athlete art my entire life. Lifted since like my freshman year of high school, which it was sort of a joke, kind of, just to
Yeah.
be honest, because we weren't like bodybuilding in high school, but I've lifted since freshman year of high school and then just started taking it seriously freshman year of college. So just to let people know, like it's actually been a lot longer. I didn't just like
Yeah.
randomly become an athlete and randomly start lifting. But I don't know. The advice I think I would give myself if I could like start over or like be in that position again, or to anyone starting out, is just starting off being authentic, being me, bringing like personality out to people who, follow me, see my page. Um, and I would probably prepare myself and tell myself there are going to be people who just don't like you. And
Mm-hmm.
that's fine. Cause I think I just didn't, that was a part of it that I was just not prepared for. And I wish I
It
would
would
have
be hard to
learned.
be prepared.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And I wish I would have known from the beginning, which obviously it is a learning process and we all go through it. But I wish I would have known more about like the nutrition, about the different training styles and like how to get the most effective results out of your lifting and all that. So if I would have like known what I know today, I feel like I could be like way further along. But it's part of the process. It's an experience, and I honestly wouldn't trade where I'm at. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, from a big brother's perspective, it's been really cool to see you get to where you're at. So I think you're spot on in terms of the prepping yourself would be very hard for what it all was going to look like and what it all was going to turn
Mhm.
into. But I do think that, it's even like I was telling you early on too, is people just love your personality and they love seeing the bubbly side of you and the goofy side and like the funny pictures that you and Jermaine take and all that stuff. It's it helps people to connect on a deeper
Yeah,
level. And
for sure.
ultimately, the people, I was talking about this the other day with Mike. um I was like, we need to be putting ourselves out there on the internet more. Like all the people that are more successful than us have more hours of themselves on the internet,
Mhm.
like live streams, podcasts, YouTube video, like more hours that people can watch and consume of themselves out there on the internet.
Yeah.
And I think that's a direct correlate. The only reason that that's true is because people know them better than they know us.
Mhm.
Right? Like we've started to have our first kind of like consultation calls and things like that where people are like, yeah, I've been watching you guys' podcasts. I've been consuming like, I've been binge watching all this or listening to all of it. Like I love you guys' stuff. It's people are getting to know me. They're getting to
Yeah.
know you on like a real level. And when you're consuming podcasts like and videos and long form content, you can't really hide behind that stuff. You can hide behind a 60-second reel. You can hide behind a TikTok and an Instagram story and things like that. But usually, right, like people, especially in a long form like this where there's no edits or very few edits, your podcast your personality is going to come out in a podcast, or it's going
Yeah.
to come out in a long form YouTube video, and you just can't hide it. So people get to know you at your core. People get to become and feel like they're your friend. They feel like they know you personally, and so it helps them to trust you more,
Mhm.
right? Because if they know you more, they can trust you more, and then they're more likely to interact with your stuff, share your stuff, buy stuff from you eventually down the line. Like all of that because you just put more hours of yourself on the internet. And so if
Yeah.
same thing for me is if I could have told myself something, I started YouTube at a young age, and it my old YouTube account had more subscribers than I even do now on this one, which is like crazy because I thought I had nothing back then.
Yeah.
but I put out probably like 15 videos or something. They were all getting a a couple hundred views maybe. And like, I wish I would have stuck with that. I wish I would have kept doing it. And I
Mm-hmm.
stopped because I had some friends that started making fun of me for it. And if I would have like, if I could go and shake that kid and be like, dude, don't stop this. This is actually really, really good. You got some momentum here. Like, keep going. Who knows? A couple of YouTube videos later, something could have went crazy. It could have done
Yeah,
nothing, but at least I'd probably have a couple thousand subscribers by now. Be in a lot better place than I am now. So it's starting earlier and going, I think, wider and deeper with all of that stuff, social media wise,
definitely. Yeah,
for sure.
I would agree.
What do you think keeps you going with all of it?
Honestly, I feel like I've actually like I think I mean, I had like a set plan. Like this is what I was gonna do. This is where I
Hmm.
was gonna go to school, and then that all kind of just changed when I like started this journey. And I think I've just fallen more in love with it. I was very like back and forth at first because I was like, is this something I actually want to pursue? Do I really want to deal with like the hate and the emotions that I experience from that stuff, or do I want to move on and just stop. But the more I do it, the more, because yes, negativity and hate are a part of it, but the things that actually matter, like the connections with clients, being able to build a relationship with them, our team calls, obviously you and I building a business, the connections I make with other influencers, other mentors, like I think that makes it like worth it because I feel like I've grown a ton as an individual in business, in bodybuilding, and just like me.
Hmm.
So I feel like because of all of the positive things that have come from it, like that's what keeps me going, and that's what has always brought me back. And even if I'm like, I call mom and dad and I'm crying because so and so on the internet said this about me or whatever it might be, or maybe a post doesn't do well, like even if those things happen, like I still come back because there are people who have said you inspire me, or I met my boyfriend through this and like we've hit it off and it's been like the best relationship I've ever had. And like you and I have built a business from the ground up and it's been like an awesome thing to be a part of. And I
Hmm.
get to talk to my girls on a weekly basis and we get to talk to our team on a weekly basis. So I think all of those things are positives that kind of build me up each week and
Yeah.
allow me to be a positive influence in someone's life and allow me to keep pushing even if it's not always rainbows and butterflies. So,
Yeah. No, I think that's all important is being able to see the fruits of your labor, pretty much.
yeah.
Because if you're not paying attention to those, or even if you're just not taking stock in them, it can be so difficult to feel like. Same thing with entrepreneurship, and all the stuff that Mike and I or you and I have going on. It's like some days you just literally want to burn it all to the ground.
Right.
You're like, why am I doing this to myself? I could go and get a stable job, make good amount of money, and be clocked out or checked out at a certain time every day and not have to stress about it at all or do anything or think about it at all again until the next day.
Yeah.
Right. And then I get 2 full days a week with nothing. I got nothing going on. You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
That's
Um,
relaxing.
but instead, in trying to build eventual freedom, like we've chosen this path of working every day, not
Mhm.
having set hours, right? Like not having all that freedom. Like maybe I can work from wherever, but it doesn't mean that I can not work.
Yeah.
Um, and so it's everything is going to come with trade-offs, but it's about trying to figure out what is worth it to you, because I honestly do think I would be going crazy if I didn't have a lot of these challenges and things to occupy me and keep me creative and make me,
Yeah.
just like stimulate me in different ways. And I think you would be in the same boat if you didn't have, social media or bodybuilding or some of these things to be chasing. Like
Mhm.
I don't know if you'd feel as fulfilled. I certainly couldn't imagine that you would.
Mhm.
Um, and so it's about the things that bring you the most joy, fill you up the most, give you the most energy. But and the flip side of that is if it can do all those things, it can do all the other things too. So
Yeah.
you do have to be willing to put up with a healthy amount of both, I feel like.
Yeah. I definitely think it's, like people say, it's you choose your hard. Like which kind of hard do you want? and then count your
Mm-hmm.
blessings. Like, understand that there are blessings in all of the hard things, all of the hard times. So I feel like you said, there's upsides and downsides, and you just have to roll with the punches and enjoy the highs that do come.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
With your relationship history, and I know we've talked about that on the first episode that we did together, um, and you even talked about just a second ago how amazing you guys' relationship has been thus far. What do you
Yeah.
feel like are the keys to a healthy relationship, having experienced both?
Communication is huge.
Mm-hmm.
Communication is huge. That's something that is a big priority in our relationship, and I feel like that is like a game changer. Um, and not only that, like, I feel like we talked about it in the first episode, I think, where a lot of times in like previous relationships or whatever, like, I feel like my feelings were 9 times out of 10 never validated. Like, I always became an issue. And in our relationship, like, my feelings are always valid. Like, I'm always listened to. And it's very much like we do the same for each other. So the balance, the communication, talking things over, enjoying ourselves, continuously dating, if you will. Like, everyone says, like, don't stop dating your partner, like, don't get comfortable. Like, I feel like those things all help to, keep us happy, keep us, in each other's minds. Like, we know what's going on with the other. We're there to help each other. And I feel like that obviously just helps. Like, it's definitely a blessing to be in a relationship where everything is very mutual.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's the only way, I think, is you can't have, like, there's going to be days where it's not a 50-50 thing, right? Like, somebody's got to pick up some slack from the other person for sure, and that happens
Yeah.
in any relationship. But if it's not, if like that person's not willing to pick up the slack, and you understand that, like, there's a dynamic where it's not ever in your favor, it's not ever supportive for you, or it's not ever equal for you, right? There's no equity for you, like, then that's a sign, like you've experienced before, like I've experienced before, that it's not for you, right? Like, it's not the way that you're going to find that happiness or that
Hmm.
fulfillment. And that can be a hard realization. So I guess, talking to that realization, what does that feel like what are a few of the markers or signs that people can look for, maybe, and what does that feel like inside of a relationship for you to know when it's time, I guess?
I would honestly say if a person is draining you more than they are like building you up, then like that is not your person. Because I think if a relationship is taking all of your energy, putting you down, making you feel like negative feelings, if you're sad like all the time, like if you feel yourself being happier away from that relationship rather than in that relationship, then I think that those are all signs that this person is taking and you're giving everything you've got, but you're not getting anything that helps you be happy or helps you build back up. So I think, all those negative things, that if you notice that within your own relationship or friendships or even family, like, then you know that that is something you need to remove yourself from.
Hmm. No, I think it's a great point. And I do think that a big chunk of what can help people to, because I have a few friends that are single, or several friends that are single, and a lot of the guys that I just like talk to in general are single, and they're a lot of times I'll get into conversations where people are like, I don't know how, like, does Kinsey have a sister or anything? Like, does they have, like, how do I find somebody? And I'm like, yeah, she does,
Yeah.
but her sister's in a relationship too. But the a lot of times guys are just like, that girl is not being attracted to me, right? Or girls are like, I can't find a nice guy, right? Or I can't find the guy that I like, or the one. Like, how do you find the one? And that's a lot of times a question that people are always asking.
Hmm.
And I think the most important thing in that whole journey is trying to make yourself the one first. And you have to spend some time with yourself, like learning yourself, understanding yourself, building yourself up into the person that would be attracting that type of a person back to you, right? That would be
Yeah.
attracting the one that you would see like in that dream version of your life. And because if you're not your best version of yourself, you're not going to attract the best version of anybody else. If
Hmm.
you're broken and you're desperate and you're doing all like, then someone else that's broken and desperate is going to be attracted to you. Not to say that that can't be, you can't heal together and become an amazing couple or anything, but like you'll be able to show up for that person better if they're truly meant to be the one. If you are whole in as an individual, you'll be able to help them and be there for them and everything. So I think a lot of people, and especially a lot of the younger men that I talk to in general, are coming from that place of lack, coming from that place of desperation and like need or thinking that they need to find somebody to make them whole. When in reality, if they would just take the time to the dynamic between men and women in general typically is like if they can just take the time to develop themselves, work on themselves, build, whether it be a business, whether it be their body, whether it be their career, whether it be whatever, right? If they would just take the time to build, that will attract the women or the people that you're trying to attract,
Hmm.
right? Because what you truly want is like, I'm on my path, I'm doing my thing, I'm going to accomplish all the things that I'm setting out to accomplish. This person really likes my journey. They come on over alongside of me and they're going to accomplish all the things that they're going to accomplish. They're on their path, they're on their journey, but you can do that side by side.
Hmm.
Like that's what you want. You don't want someone that you don't want to be in that place of lack when you meet somebody because then you build your identity into them and they build their identity into you. So as
Yeah.
individuals, you could never exist again, right? And that is a place of unhealthiness where I feel like a lot of these end up going to is if you did build your identity into that other half of the relationship, and especially if they didn't do that back, they didn't come from that place, they didn't build their identity into you, they have all the power, they have all the leverage, and they can do whatever they want in that relationship and get away with it. And that's where a lot of the toxic relationships come from. Do you feel like that's an accurate kind of like breakdown of that dynamic, or what would you say in order to attract the right person, what do you need to do?
I mean, I would agree. And I also think that, like, just putting yourself in places where you can attract the right person. Like, I feel like I hear sometimes from girls or like friends that are like, yeah, like I go out every single weekend and I just can't meet the right one. Like, I just don't know why I can't meet the right one. I think putting yourself in places to meet the right one or to meet like-minded people means putting yourself in a better position. So like
Yep.
changing your surroundings, going to different places that aren't, going out or partying, cuz obviously I feel like you're going to meet more of the one you're looking for if you're meeting them in a better environment. So I think that changing your surroundings, changing up your habits, um, will help you meet that one. I feel like, I don't know, just making an effort, like you said, to kind of improve yourself, improve what you're doing in your day to day life. And that will help you kind of set up for that. Because at the end of the day, everyone does want someone to share life with
Mhm.
at some point. Um, so I think it's just a matter of, rather than searching and searching and searching and searching for someone, like just take a step back and like focus on you and go to places that you enjoy and build yourself and hang out with friends, and eventually you're going to be put in a position where you meet someone, whether that's at a party like you and Ken's met, or at the
Yeah.
gym like Jermaine and I met. Like, I mean, it could be anything for anyone. So yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, and I also think too is the concept of the one because there's like another question that I see a lot is like how do you know? And I wrote about this in an Instagram post the other day, but it's hard to explain, but it is kind of like a thing that I always wondered myself. I'm like, how do I know if this is if I'm supposed to like fight for this, if this is like the real deal, if this is like like what is that feeling that people talk about? And it is a real feeling, and it is really something that creeps in, and you are just kind of like, oh, like this is different. I don't really want to waste any time here. Like this is kind of it, and that's how I felt with Kins. And initially starting out our relationship, it was kind of a she had had a messy breakup a few months prior. I had kind of had the same thing. And it was, for us, it was not any like, there wasn't anything like pressure. It wasn't pressurized at all. It was kind of like, we're in our last year of college. We enjoy hanging out with each other. We enjoy just like being around each other, whether it be in like mutual like friend gatherings or whether it be going out to a dinner or something. Like, let's just see where this goes. And pretty quickly, whenever we actually started like diving into a relationship, it was kind of just like you even remember me telling you like different things at times, but it was kind of like, okay, like where has this been forever? Like this is
Yeah.
truly what love is. This is truly what, like, this is the one. Like there's no doubts. Whenever it kind of just clicks, it clicks, and you know for sure. And
Yeah.
I think that that's hard if you haven't experienced it. That's hard for people to be like, okay, but how do I know if I'm feeling that right now? You will know if you're feeling it. Like you
For
will
sure.
have 100% no doubts, and you'll understand it, and you'll be in it,
Yeah.
and you'll be like, okay, I get you now. But it is something that once you build up yourself to a certain point, right? Once they're building themselves up to a certain point, and you finally meet that person, it is something that is automatic, and it is something that will just knock you on your socks, like on your butt,
Hmm.
right? Like it will
Yeah.
just knock you out. Um, so it's that's something else that I kind of wanted to address, because I do feel like a lot of people are always wondering that. They're like, yeah, this has like a couple of bad traits of this relationship, but like, this could be the one. Like, how do I know if this is, maybe I'm just supposed to fight harder? And that's the logic that a lot of people are stuck in. And it's like,
Yeah.
no, you wouldn't have to fight this hard for it, you
Yeah.
know?
I definitely agree. I do think when you know, and like it'll hit you, and it'll, I don't know. Like, I think everyone looks for the one so hard that you're kind of like, can this be the one? Like, can I make this the one? Because you don't want to
Yeah.
keep looking. You just want to find them. But
Hmm.
I definitely agree. When you like feel it and you know, like it's, yeah, like it is just a feeling.
For
I
sure.
agree.
Absolutely. What else? You got anything else for me?
Yeah, since you're on the topic of relationships, I know we've talked about it before, kind of, but like obviously you and Kenzie are coming up on a year married in June. Crazy
Hmm.
stuff. Um, what would you say is the biggest challenge that you guys have faced between like entrepreneurship, marriage, balancing your time, all that good stuff?
Um, that's a great question. So one thing that I think with marriage, I think it's all the normal stuff. I think it's like, there's the weirdness at first whenever we'd had a ton of conversations about like finances and budgets and things like that prior, but it is definitely a different animal altogether whenever when you combine accounts, and all of a sudden it's like you feel weird, because it's like you actually have like there's actually access to like more money technically, but it's also like it's not all yours, but it is all yours. But it's like you get in this weird spot, especially initially, and she still does it, which cracks me up. But you feel like you have to ask, like, "Hey, I'm gonna like go grab a bite on the way home today. Like, is that okay with you?" Like, it's just like a weird, really
Yeah.
weird concept at first. And I know some couples have all sorts of different views on finances and whether you should put them together or shouldn't.
Hmm.
It's to me and to us, ultimately what we decided was whenever you get married, you do become one, right? Like you're supposed to become one. So it's like you
Yeah.
put all of your stuff together, and it would just be odd if there is any type of income difference, then it's like, okay, does one person move the difference into the other person's account every, like, so that it's equal? And it's just that gets super messy super fast.
Yeah.
So we ultimately just opted for, we're going to put everything together, because we're a couple now. We're married. We're one. So we put it all
Hmm.
together. So there was like some stuff around that I would say like is normal, and it's just kind of like odd, kind of navigating that at first, for the first time. Living together, we really didn't encounter any. We had never lived together before, but
Yeah.
moving in together, we really didn't encounter any hangups. It was just kind of like especially at first, it was like, oh, cool, we get to like hang out all the time and just be here.
24/7.
Yeah. So that's been awesome. I would say around entrepreneurship, initially I tried really, really, really hard to be like clocked out and done by the time she got home. And I still try to do that a lot. Um, but whenever I was losing an extra 2 or 3 hours of what I would typically be working every single day.
Mhm.
And so I got to a point where I kind of felt like the businesses needed that again towards like later part of this last year. And so I kind of started just like sacrificing that time and doing it. Like I try to be off a call or off of things to like greet her when she got home, but I would just be right back in here for a few hours.
Mhm.
Um, and so that I think started to kind of take a toll, and it was kind of like a thing where I told her like, hey, I'm gonna have to buckle down for a while, and I'm gonna have to just do this. Like this is what it's gonna be like. Like we signed on for this deal. I'm an entrepreneur. Like I've got to just do this. Um, and me and Mike went on that trip to California, and it had been really taking a toll on her, and I knew that. And me leaving for the trip, it also took a toll on her. She also does this thing where like if I'm about to leave for a trip, she likes to like start a fight the night before because she feels like it makes it easier on her for me to go away if she's like mad at me, but I can always like tell what she's doing because it'll be about something dumb like there's a towel somewhere that or and it's just random stuff.
Well, because we
Um,
don't want to be sad before you guys leave.
Exactly.
That's the
Exactly. And it's
worst.
and it's cute whenever you can actually know what's going on, but,
Mhm.
in the moment, you're like, "Oh my god, can you just tell me you're gonna miss me, and then we can just be happy, and this will be a lot
Enjoy the
better."
last night.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Um, anyways, but we had kinda talked about it, and she's like, "I haven't been seeing you recently, and, like, we haven't even been hanging out, we haven't been spending any meaningful time together, you're always working, you never stop." And I was kind of like, I told you that this was going to happen. Like, this is how I build. This is how I get us to that dream outcome that we're trying to get to. This is how I get us to
Mhm.
where we can choose where we want to live, or we can go travel for 6 months, or we can do all like, I'm doing this for us. Like, you
Yeah.
need to see that I'm doing it for us. And of course, wasn't a great answer for her. But I went to that event and I was surrounded by a bunch of entrepreneurs, and they were talking about a bunch of emotional things and trying to like really get to the core of kind of what we were struggling with. And I kind of told them about that conversation. Um, and they were asking me, they were like, well, did she say that that's what she wants? I'm like, well, what do you mean? Did she say that she wants you to sacrifice that time with her now for potential payouts in the future? And I'm like, why wouldn't she want that? Like, yeah, she didn't say that, but like, yeah, I'm doing it for us. And he's like, well, did she say that she wants you to do that for him or for us? And I was like, well, no. And like, then why are you doing it? Have you asked her if she would rather have more time with you now and like delay whatever you're trying to build for a few years later? Or if she would like the reverse of that? And it's like, well, no. I just kind of was sitting there like, okay, well, then she's right. She's right in this situation. Like, she is the reason that you're doing all these things. And if you're sacrificing that time for with her now for something potential in the future, that's a complete oxymoron. You're doing the exact opposite of what you should be doing.
Mhm.
And so that really reframed it for me in terms of just trying to be conscious of like what does she want, because at the end of the
Yeah.
day, the things that I am sacrificing time for, the things that I am um, you know, making her reschedule stuff for, or making our schedules revolve around, it's like, would it be the end of the world if I did it tomorrow while she's at work? No, right? Like,
Yeah.
would it be the end of the world if we had to move a sales call to the next day or delay it by a little bit so I can finish this conversation with her that she's really passionate about? Like, no, it wouldn't.
Mhm.
So it's taken a lot of work internally to try to get to that point, but she does have a lot of passions inside of entrepreneurship that I think will help her to be open down the line to looking more into those types of things and
Yeah.
being more involved. So long-winded
Definitely.
answer, but it's marriage has been awesome so far, and
Yeah.
yeah, those are the things that we've kind of gone through.
That's good. That's good. That's
Hmm.
definitely good. Um, I know you kind of talked about AR, like continuing to build that up and then obviously continuing with BAM. At any point, do you see yourself dabbling into like another business venture, or is it kind of like these are your two babies and you're just going to keep, go to the moon with them? Or what do you
Hmm.
see for yourself?
I think I think these two are more than enough to fill all of my time plus some. Like, I think we probably need to hire people in both
Right.
businesses at this point.
Yeah.
Um, so short term, definitely like these two and doing that. I've thought something that has been drawing me for a while now is like doing like I view the podcast as a potential business venture at some point. I actually got my first inquiry about a sponsor, which was cool, which I
Nice.
need
That is
to
awesome.
talk to them a little bit. But the anyways, we this I think will be end up being like the kind of like personal brand version of Baker at some point,
Mhm.
which I think I'm hoping can grow into a business, just like you've made yours into a business, just like Jermaine's made his into a business,
Yeah.
and so on and so forth. But um, as of right now, just trying to build those two up. Like Mike and I have built AR from the start with a goal of selling it. So I think
Mhm.
that's kind of like the ultimate goal eventually with AR is within the next few years, looking at least what could we sell it for and starting to get some numbers flowing and things like that.
Yeah.
Um, and then BAM, I think we can build BAM into a mid six figure or maybe even like seven figure company that's got coaches and a full community and a full team and community managers and things like that. I think it'll take a couple of years for us to get there, but I think it's well within reach. Um, and I think those two businesses alone, they'll be impacting lives on a very large scale.
Mhm.
And that's kind of what I always have tried to set out to do is to be creative, to like build businesses that actually serve people and do things. And um, really with Ubora right now, I'm not doing much at all. So Ubora is kind of the thing where I've got to decide if I want to continue with all the things that the opportunities that it kind of has, if that's worth it, because I've never paid myself a dime from Ubora. Um, in the service-based companies, they help me to impact people more directly, and obviously they get I get compensated a lot better as well from that because you have to
Mhm.
sell a lot of dead grips to make enough to pay for the next order of dead grips and pay yourself.
Yeah.
Um, so and pay for all the operations and all that stuff. But as far as new businesses, I don't have anything on the horizon. I just think building out the social stuff and doing maybe some sort of like an editor or like a studio type setup at some point,
Mhm.
which wouldn't be anything that I actively manage. So looking for ways to diversify income, but not new
Yeah.
businesses really.
Makes sense, makes sense. And then, of course, my kind of final question for you, or like statement really, is obviously you just released one of your first vlogs.
hmm
So, along with like podcast videos, obviously, do you see yourself like vlogging a lot more in the future? Like, is YouTube a platform that you really want to dive deep on? Like, what does that look like for you?
Definitely. YouTube is something that I want to again more hours of myself on the internet, and I
Hmm.
think that it can't hurt. And I don't really have any concerns like if people make fun of me or whatever anymore. Like it's not something I even care about because
Nope.
I'm doing me. I've made it this far, and it's paid off so far. So anyways, that's kind of like the goal right now is to put more YouTube out, put out more long form. I am struggling with balancing it all because I'll be in like YouTube mode and like Vegas. I didn't take like any. We got a few pictures, but I didn't really take any like Instagram specific like reels or TikToks or anything like
Mhm.
that. It was just all YouTube because I was just in YouTube brain and I was just like filming everything landscape and I was
Yeah.
all of it was long form and so I'm having a little bit of trouble trying to like break down how do I balance an even amount of both so I can still have content for the other platforms.
Yeah.
But I think YouTube, I would, like I told you, or we talked about a couple episodes ago, I would take 1,000 to 10,000 YouTube subscribers over, a few hundred thousand or even maybe a million Instagram, just because people are so much more nurtured. They're so much more attached to just you and your personality, and so I think
Definitely.
that's the way that I'll be able to build an audience, hopefully.
Yeah, I
So,
definitely agree with that. It is hard to balance that. That's something Jermaine and I were talking about. Like we were
mm,
doing like so good at TikTok this week and then we were like, wait, like we haven't posted on Instagram, no YouTube shorts. Like it is really hard to manage like multiple content platforms. You
it
kind of have
is,
to
yeah,
dive deep. So hopefully the YouTube will continue to grow for you and definitely show people who Baker is outside of entrepreneurship. But
yeah,
yeah,
hopefully
I'm
so.
excited for you.
Yeah, me too. We did film the entire thing in Vegas, so I'm gonna be doing a couple of probably do like a day to day vlog of that, like day one, day two, day three, or something. because it was interesting. I mean, it was interesting. We had a lot of things we encountered, and the gambling and the different restaurants and the people at the I don't even remember what it was. It was like kind of like a bowl place, but it was not like the type of bowl place that you would typically go to. But I got them to make me like just chicken and rice bowls. And so by the
Oh
third
yeah.
day, like I'd walk up and they'd be like, "What's up, Baker? You want chicken and rice?" And I'm like, "Yep." And
They're
this is in like a
prepared.
super busy Las Vegas resort and casino. And they're like, "What's up, Baker?" And I'm like, "Hey guys, back again."
75
So
hard.
yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, that I think that'll be cool. But we're gonna try to do things like that. We're gonna try to vlog this weekend. Here in like an hour, we're headed your way for the weekend.
Yep, yep. I
So
plan
that'll
on
be fun.
vlogging it as well.
So hopefully the Shields can take over YouTube. Maybe you can share some of your
Right.
following. I'm gonna be so pissed off whenever you make your first post about YouTube Vlogs Live and you get like 3,000 subscribers. I'm gonna be
I
so
highly
pissed.
doubt it.
You
I
will,
highly
you will,
doubt it
because
will
you posted one short so far, and you have like 200 subscribers. So
We'll
you're gonna have
see.
to share.
We'll see. Yeah. My last YouTube video got completely erased.
Yeah. Well,
So far
hopefully
you're
this
doing
week,
way better than me.
hopefully this weekend's vlog does better or does makes it through.
Yeah. Doesn't
So,
delete.
mhm.
We'll see.
Anyways, I think that's pretty much all I had. If you don't
Mhm.
have anything else, appreciate you guys watching. If you do want to see more of me and Addie stuff, all of it's going to be linked down below, from coaching to BAM to Eubora to AR Funnel to everything that we got going on. So in our social media content as well. So if you don't want to miss any of the upcoming episodes with me and Addie or me and any of the other guests, make sure that you subscribe on any platform that you're watching or listening on. And yeah, we'll see you guys in the next one. Appreciate you watching. Addie's doing a peace sign for those of you that are on audio. See you guys.
Bye.